Hello everybody, welcome to Unit 1, Section 5. We're going to be talking about Earth systems. Cool stuff. So first things first, why do we even have the need for these systems? Well, Earth is a big place. The whole Earth scale problems are huge problems. So the idea is if a problem seems too large for you to solve all at once, the best thing you can do is to break that problem down into smaller pieces and then solve those. The Earth is so big that there's no way to look at the whole thing at the same time, or to consider the entire thing at once whenever you're solving problems with it. So instead, we break it up into little systems. I have here a definition of a system, if that's something you might find useful. So in this, for example, we can, instead of looking at this entire thing and all the moving parts in it, breaking down into little systems. We have just the vegetative system. Here we have just a delta system, or whatever it is that's happening where the river meets the sea here. We can talk about it just with the little ecosystems, or we can talk about just the vegetative system under the sea. The idea is that if we were to try to solve a problem that involves this entire area here at once, it might be too big for us to solve. So we break it down into pieces, and for the whole Earth, we break it down into four main systems, four big pieces we're going to talk about. We have the geosphere, so all of the solid material on the Earth, the rocks. We talk about the biosphere, all of the living organisms and the recently dead organisms, which might be suitable for decomposition, eating. The atmosphere, all the gases put together, and finally the hydrosphere. The water, ice, water vapor, everything that the water touches, where it moves, where it goes. And this diagram, very simply, is just to show that with the whole Earth, we think about it as these systems touching each other and interacting. So the biosphere, all the plants on Earth's surface, for example, are going to affect the composition of gases in the atmosphere, which in turn is going to affect how water vapor moves through the atmosphere and where we have water and where we don't. And the water is responsible in rivers for shaping the physical Earth and for moving and changing rock. We build these little systems, and then finally, to solve bigger Earth-scale problems, we start looking at how they connect. So within these systems, it's useful to break them down even further into little cycles. So we would talk about the water cycle. You may be familiar with this, just looking at the movement of the water in simplest terms through the hydrosphere. Talk about the rock cycle, sum total of processes that move or change rock, and look at the tectonic cycle. So not just the physical rocks themselves, but how do continents move? How do oceans form and then come back together? How do mountains form where continents collide and then break apart? And this diagram here, obviously something you're going to have to reproduce from memory on the exam, 100%. The important parts of this, which I realize might be a little overwhelming here, is look at the parts where these different systems touch each other. So we have our tectonic cycle on the left, our rock cycle on the right here, and here in the middle, where we have our magma system and our igneous rock, is where the two of those overlap, where the systems connect. The tectonic cycle is responsible for introducing most of the magma into the surface of the Earth, which then is responsible for forming the igneous rocks, which serve as the basis for the other parts of the rock cycle. And we'll do this in more detail later. But for now, just remember, it's these parts where the cycles touch each other that we really find interesting, that we really want to study in order to be able to understand the whole system. Next section is going to be on how Earth is unique, our unique Earth. Thanks.